think that Nelson Smith can do it. So Nelson is the president of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. And the National Alliance is the leading organization committed to increasing the number of high-quality charter schools, particularly in disadvantaged communities. The Alliance provides assistance to state charter school associations and resource centers. And Nelson, we very much appreciate you flying in from DC to be here today.
Thank you, Jonas, and hello, everybody, and boy, what a pleasure it is to be here today, especially to be on such an illustrious panel with Chancellor Zimpher and Chairman Hayden and Randy Daniels and many other dignitaries. I want to, first of all, though, say thanks for having us here, Principal Ira Victor, and to have us to your wonderful school. It's really a great honor to be here. And I want to acknowledge also Michael Duffy, my good friend who runs the charter school office for Chancellor Joel Klein, another terrific authorizer here in New York City. I rarely can truthfully say when I'm the sort of next to last or last speaker that I agree with everything I've heard today. I mean, people get up and say, I agree with everything, even though they've been contradictory. Well, I have to say, I agree with every word of praise, every encomium, every bit of congratulations, and every bit of heartfelt love that has gone out to all of you who have made this day. I want to particularly say congratulations to not only Grand Concourse, but all 4 of the schools who are celebrating their renewal today. Because as a charter school guy, I know what that means. And I can tell you that in some other places in the country, there are some schools that might get renewed without too much of a look-see. Not here. One of the things that is remarkable about the State University of New York's Charter Schools Institute is, as I will tell you, it does its homework. So I know that that renewal adds up to an awful lot of analysis, an awful lot of visiting, an awful lot of discussion, an awful lot of maybe course corrections on your part to sort of look at how you were going and say, if we're going to be here for another 5 years, here's where we go in the next phase. So a real big round of applause for those schools that are getting the renewal today. It's been remarked that the kids from Grand Concourse Choir got us off on the perfect note today because they talked about the dream. Every charter school starts as a dream, and the dream of our movement in 1991 with the passage of the first charter law was that we were going to find a way to educate every child who came to one of our schools to the highest possible standards. And now today we have 4,600 charter schools in 40 states and the District of Columbia around the country. There are 1.4 million students in our charter schools. And as you know, President Obama makes no mystery of his interest in charter schools and his support for them. And he gave a speech in which he called for lifting caps. Well, of course, New York already beat him to it by a couple of years, but he wants to see that happen in the rest of the country. And so as a movement, we have to look at our 4,600 schools and say, how do we grow to meet the expectations that the President and the Secretary of Education have for us as a movement? And I would say, come and take a look at New York State. Because what has already happened is that we've had a movement that has become healthy and has grown with excellence. Especially when you look at the record that you heard about today of the schools chartered by the State University of New York. Is there any better proof that a charter movement can flourish both in numbers and in quality? I think it's a wonderful testament to the university, to the institute, and to the leadership that it's had over the last 10 years. And that's why I'm so really, really grateful to be invited to spend part of this day with you today. When you hear the words charter authorizer, I have to say that this is a phenomenon that most people in the country don't know anything about. Because when we passed the charter laws around the country in the 90s, all the laws really concentrated on was the school. It said a school can apply in a certain way and has to provide certain proof and has to have a charter, which is really a performance-based contract to meet certain expectations. And oh yes, the authorizer gets the charter and decides whether they'll be renewed. But most of the laws didn't say much about how they do that. So it was important when Chairman Hayden used the word interpret to say what Randy Daniels helped CSI do in its formative years. Because every authorizer in making up its own professional practice has to interpret, has to build its practice of rigorous accountability and fairness and equity and preservation of the autonomy of those schools on what is usually just a few paragraphs in a law. And frankly, there are too many authorizers in the country that don't pay enough attention to that. And I'll tell you that my good friend Greg Richmond, the head of the National Association of Charter School Authorizers, was going to be here today. He got held up because of bad weather getting out of Chicago, so he couldn't be here. He would tell you the same thing, that there are too many authorizers that sort of take the letter of the law and do the least they can, and they sort of stamp approved on a school and then say come back in 5 years. What happened in New York State, though, was that when the Charter Schools Institute was created, it was created as a body that would have the freedom to actually interpret the law in the right way, to develop a very rigorous system for approvals so that not every school, as you just heard, would get through, but only the ones that really showed promise. And then to create an accountability system that involved not just looking at random test scores, but actually going and visiting the schools and understanding what their mission was, and then building a renewal process that recognized all of those elements and really continued to set a high bar. So when I go around the country and someone says to me, what does a charter authorizer do? I say, look at SUNY. Because you can find in this institute, you can find the best professional practice in this field in the country. And that's why the Charter Schools Institute is not only a blessing to the teachers and the children who are now part of the family of schools that they have helped create, but it is a real star in the crown of the State University of New York and of New York State itself. This is a leader in its field, and it is known nationally for that. That's why the Authorizers Association gave it the national award a couple of years ago as Authorizer of the Year. They really meant that. So I am also very, very happy to hear Jonas's announcement today that now you will take this tremendously rich resource of the combination of really solid professional practice in the authorizer and the creation of a lot of really solid, high-performing schools, and you'll begin to interpret and share and look into what makes them all tick. You know, when we talk about research in charter schools, usually most of it is just comparing test scores. And as any of you who is in a school knows, as important as that is as a measure of accountability, it doesn't tell you how you get that result. And we're just now beginning to look into the best charter schools in the country and say, this is how they do it. So this new Center for Research is going to be a tremendous new asset. And I'm glad to see that it's Jonas who's made the announcement, because he's already had quite a professional accomplishment in that field in Texas. In fact, I do want to point out the kind of leadership that this institute has had for 10 years. You've heard Trustee Bob Bellafiore mentioned, James Merriman, Scott Steffi, of course Jennifer Sneed, who has been a guiding light throughout. And that's why I was really pleased to be asked to actually join the search committee that found your new executive director, Jonas Chartock. And I am pretty sure that we made a good choice. So he's going to continue in that terrific tradition. There has been no more important time than right now to make sure that the Charter Schools Institute can keep doing what it needs to do. And I say that for two reasons. Nationally, we are about to see, I think, liftoff in the charter school movement. We have a president, a secretary of education who are talking about closing low-performing schools, and in their place, in many cases, wanting to see highly effective new charter schools started. So there's going to be an explosion of new opportunities to show what this movement can do. And also here in New York State, because of the lift of the cap, there is a need for a new spate of charter schools that will continue to set the pace in terms of performance. And because the SUNY Charter Schools Institute has from day one said, hold us accountable for the performance of our schools, which not every authorizer has been willing to do, this is the time to make sure that they have the resources, the political support, and the backing from all of our family. That means the national family, that means the political leaders in New York State, and it particularly means those of you who are in the schools, who teach and who send your children to the schools and who study in those schools. This is an integral part of your success, and that's why I'm so pleased to be here today to be able to congratulate them. They deserve that success. As the old ad used to say, they've earned it. So congratulations to SUNY, congratulations to the Charter Schools Institute, and best of luck to all of you for the next decade.